Hello there and welcome to today's ZestCast. I'm Rachel McGuinness, the founder of Wake Up with Zest and the Zest Wellbeing Hub. And today we are chatting to yoga teacher Jess Watson from, is it Ahimsa?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you more about that in a moment. So Jess is a regular contributor to the hub with some great articles about self-care, vegan recipes, meditation, and of course, yoga. But today we're actually specifically talking about how to de-stress with desk yoga. Jess, so thank you very much for being a part of our ZestCast. Before we get into desk yoga, tell us all about Ahimsa. How did you come up with that name and how did you get into yoga?
Well, Ahimsa means it's actually one of the yogic philosophies, one of the primary ones. And it means non-suffering and non-violence. So it's kind of, as far as the yogic texts go, there's two strange, there's the yamas and the niyamas, and Ahimsa is the first yama, and all the rest of them are kind of built on this precedence that it sets of the way you approach your life is through just non-suffering and non-violence towards yourself and towards the people around you. But the reason why I kind of named my business or practice Ahimsa Yoga with Jess is because I truly believe that we start with self-care. So we start with non-violence towards ourselves. And I think, you know, if we start really paying attention to the thoughts and the negative patterns and cycles that we can go through, we can be quite horrible to ourselves. So when you start, I take that principle of Ahimsa and I try to teach it, and from a foundation of self-care and self-love, self-compassion. And your other question for how did I get into yoga?
Yeah.
Well, it was funny enough, kind of prescribed to me by a doctor when I was in my early 20s, because I was a full-time university student. I worked also almost full-time hours, and I was very stressed and I was having chronic pain in my stomach mainly. And so my doctor recommended yoga and mindfulness. And this was, oh gosh, I don't know, I was going to say how old I am, but this was about 26 years ago. So I started practicing, and this was kind of before yoga really became mainstream. So I had to go out and buy myself a book with pictures in it. And I started to learn the poses and learn the philosophy, which really resonated with me mainly.
And when did you become a yoga teacher?
I became certified in March of 2020. So right after we went into lockdown, I had to finish my last weekend of yoga teacher training in lockdown on Zoom. And that's when I became certified. I've been practicing for a very long time. Started a yoga teacher training program probably, gosh, almost 18 years ago, but had to pull out because I got pregnant. So now my children are teenagers and they're self-sufficient and all these wonderful things. I decided to revisit my passion, which has always been wellness and yoga. And I just think it can transform your life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a great fan of yoga. And do you specialize in any particular type?
Well, yeah, kind of. I guess you would say that my style is more hatha. It's just more, it's more just about not pushing my students too hard, but teaching them how to learn how to find in themselves and in their bodies where to go. It's been challenging since being certified during the pandemic and having to teach on Zoom pretty much this whole time. I've really had to learn and grow as a teacher to guide people into their bodies without being able to see them and give them adjustments. So it's been a fantastic growth period for me to get people in, making sure that they're aligning themselves properly so that, you know, they don't injure themselves or go into a pose too wrong and pull a muscle. But yeah, hatha I would say was my main, but I also teach Yin Yoga, which I really love. I get a really, really big positive response from Yin. And I think Yin is starting to take off a little bit because I think people are really starting to understand how beneficial it is to reduce stress
Yes. So explain more about what Yin Yoga is.
Yin Yoga is close to restorative yoga, but not quite. So yin, if you're thinking about yin and yang,
Yes.
obviously yin is the opposite of yang. And we live very yang lives, don't we? We're very busy, we're overscheduled, we're overstimulated. So, and yoga tends to be very yang based. If you look at the practices out there, there's Ashtanga, there's Vinyasa, there's power yoga. They are like, you know, movement and breathing and generating heat and raising the heart rate. Yin is the complete opposite of that. It's basically lying around for an hour to an hour and a half and only doing a few poses. So it has very specific poses in yin, doesn't work with all poses. So it's very specific poses that you work with in yin, where you come into the pose and you can feel that natural resistance that happens in the body when you get there. So you pay attention to that, and then you just close your eyes and you go in and you breathe and you release tension from the body. And when you do that, the body starts to adapt to the pressure, if that makes sense, in the pose. So what you find is you kind of release into the pose gently and deeply, but not hugely, like you're not doing a massive adjustment, but you're definitely starting to go deeper into it. And it's really, really beneficial for just releasing tension in the muscles, in the fascia. And it's just really introspective work as well. I usually ask my students to have a journal nearby after they do a yin class, because when you're kind of in that stillness and you're really focusing on your breath and your body, stuff starts to come up, emotional stuff, and it's pretty powerful. So it's, and you know, when I teach a yin class, I get so many messages from people going, "Oh my God, I'm crying. I didn't know I was gonna."
That's interesting. So you were talking about the fascia. What exactly is that?
Oh gosh, that is like this massive interconnected network of tissue that basically surrounds all your vital organs. It's like this crazy web, this really light, stretchy web of tissue in the body. And it basically kind of supports all the structure. And it's been overlooked for a long time as a vital system in the body. And research and yoga teachers in particular are really starting to look at what the fascia is and how it can contribute to muscle soreness, injuries, and all that. So when you release the fascia, you're actually able to get into the deeper layers of the body and start releasing there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've heard it sort of used in massage as well. But yeah, for people who didn't know what it was, I thought it would be good to have an explanation. But I did some yin yoga the other day because I hurt my hip, but I'd actually shortened my oh gosh, what's the muscle at the front of the hip? I can't remember what it's called now.
I have muscle name, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, the muscle at the front of the hip, and I tightened it because I decided to do the 100 squats a day challenge. So I just shortened the hip flexor, flexor muscle. So I shortened it, and then I had referred pain sort of around my sacroiliac joint, sort of just sort of near the hip at the base of the spine. And I tried some yin yoga and was sort of holding the poses for about 3 or 4 minutes. So something in lizard pose, which is almost like doing like a kind of lunge, but with your forearms on the ground. And it was actually quite painful to begin with, but after a while, it really eased, and I found it really helped so much.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so it's just great, isn't it? But it's very different to other yoga because you're holding these poses for so long.
Yes, yeah. It is. And you usually a class will last between 90 and 120 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't teach that long because people have busy schedules. I teach usually an hour class. So we will, depending on the pose, hold them between 3 and 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really sort of getting into your breathing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very therapeutic. It's very therapeutic. And you sleep really well after.
Yeah, I've noticed quite a few yoga teachers do have like sort on, you know, who teach online, have it as a sort of a remedy for sort of sleep, helping you sort of relax before you go to sleep. So for people who aren't sleeping very well, check out Yin Yoga. So do you teach classes in the evening for sleep?
I don't usually, I teach classes in the evening. I teach a hatha yoga class regularly every week on Tuesday evening, but every kind of 4 weeks, I cycle in a yin yoga session. So my students know that like every 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to get a yin class. But what I'm doing in December is I am teaching 2 yin classes online on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. because I think December can be quite stressful for people. We get a little overscheduled and we get a little bit, especially this year, as we can reconnect with everybody again. We might be overscheduling ourselves a bit. So I think it'd be really nice to schedule in some time to take care of yourself and set yourself up for the week. And Sunday night is such a nice time to kind of decompress and prepare yourself for the week ahead. So I am going to teach, I think it's the 5th and the 12th Sunday evenings.
So we're going to give out your contact details at the end. So I've been talking about festive burnout with a lot of companies actually at the moment. Seem to be doing back-to-back webinars on it at the moment. So that's like another thing that people can do. So tell me about the effects of stress on the body and actually how yoga can help sort of alleviate that stress.
Stress on the body. Well, I think the first thing that's happening a lot these days is that we're pushing ourselves too hard and we are starting to disconnect from our bodies. And that is going to be a detriment to us. The body will give us physiological, I don't know what the word is, but signals that you're going to start going into, you're experiencing stress, and they tend to be shortness of breath, tight chest, rapid heart rate, stomach cramping. We need to pay attention to these. This is our body going, okay, it's too much. And our body is doing that because the sympathetic nervous system is kicked in. Mm-hmm. So this is our fight or flight mode. This is where the body releases adrenaline and it releases cortisol. And if we experience these 2 things in our body too much, it can have a long-term detrimental effect on our overall mental and physical wellness. It will start to affect other systems in the body. So I think the most important thing to do is, first of all, recognize when these things are happening. And secondly, the antidote to the sympathetic nervous system is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and restore system in the body. These 2 systems are part of the autonomic system, so they happen automatically. We can't control them, but we can control the parasympathetic nervous system through yoga, through mindfulness, through meditation. So we can actively kick that system off. And, just closing your eyes and focusing on your breath for 2 minutes starts to kick off that rest and restore system in the body, because it starts to lower the heart rate and it starts to quiet the mind. And that's the thing that I think is the most beneficial thing about yoga, is it is the antidote to the sympathetic nervous system. I teach yoga in a very holistic way. I think an unfortunate aspect of the westernization of yoga is that we focus too much on the movement, the asana, the poses, when yoga is so much bigger than that. And the asana, there's 8 limbs of yoga and the asana is 1 limb. There's 7 other limbs that incorporate a yoga practice. And like I said, the yamas and the niyamas earlier, the philosophy, are part of those limbs as well. But another limb is pranayama, which is the breath work. Yes. And another limb is meditation. Mm-hmm. So I try to teach yoga in a very holistic way, incorporating all 3 of those things. And sometimes I'll even throw in some philosophy and totally bamboozle my students. They're like, what are you talking about? But, I think it's important to try to get some of these things across, because we have to respect the tradition. We have to respect where it comes from.
So what are the other limbs of yoga? So
my God, you're going to put me on the spot.
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember them all, but the first one is the yamas. The second one is the niyamas. We've got pranayama, we've got asana, we've got, oh my God, I can't remember all the Sanskrit names for them, but there is,
English will do.
Sorry?
I said English will do.
Well, one of them is, I think it's called svadhyaya, which is self-inquiry. So it's how you use yoga to go deeper into yourself, to understand yourself better. The limbs of yoga came out of the Yoga Sutras that were written by Patanjali thousands of years ago. His whole point of yoga was to quiet the mind. Yes. So it was to be able to prepare the body to sit in meditation. That was the whole point of yoga. And I think that's getting a bit lost. And we need to bring ourselves back to this a little bit. I mean, the asanas and the practice, they are amazing and they can make you strong and they can make you flexible. But if we focus only on that, we lose a huge richness that's available to us. So even when I teach my desk yoga sessions, I try to teach everything in at most 20 minutes is what they last. I incorporate all three of those things. We start with pranayama, we go into movement, and we end with a meditation.
And talking about the breath, are there any sort of techniques with the breathing? Obviously, it's all belly breathing, I guess, but are there any sort of like you're holding your breath for a certain number of counts, or is it just literally just breathing in and out very slowly?
There are many different pranayama techniques. Many. There is, like what you said, there's called box breathing, where you breathe into a certain count, hold it for that same count, exhale to that count, hold it at the bottom, and you just do that pattern over and over again. Mm-hmm. The counted breath is a really good way to quiet the mind because you are focusing on counting your breath. There's also alternate nostril breathing, where you close one side, breathe in, hold it, close the other, let it go, and breathe out and in, and you keep doing that pattern. There's UDI. Sorry?
What exactly does that do?
Well, it activates both hemispheres of the brain, but it is also just one of those techniques that slows the breath down and forces the body into the parasympathetic nervous system. There's what else? There's also Sitali pranayama. This is a really good one if you are hot. Mm-hmm. And it's called the cooling breath. So I'm going to make a funny face. So you curl the tongue into a taco and you stick it out and you breathe in through that hole in the tongue. And then you close the lips, close the mouth, and then exhale through the nose. And that's called the cooling breath. And if you do that, like during summer or, well, I don't know, if you're having a hot flush, it really helps.
It really helps. A certain age.
My husband was so doubtful because when we had the heat over the summer, he was complaining. And I said, okay, sit with me and do Sitali breath. And he's like, oh, no. I'm like, okay, just try it. Just humor me. And we did about 4 minutes of it. And afterward, he's like, oh, that's amazing. It just cools your whole system down. I don't exactly know how it works, but it works.
Right. I'm trying that tonight when I have a hot at 3 o'clock this morning. 3 o'clock in the morning. So tell us more about desk yoga. So how long have you actually been doing that for, and what made you get into it?
Well, that's a good question. I kind of got into it on accident. Well, we went into lockdown and obviously everybody had to work from home. And so I decided I run a business with my husband. So I do have a full-time job and I oversee the staff and I do a lot of HR stuff in the business. So I really started to focus on incorporating a wellness routine into what we do in the business for the staff. And part of that was desk yoga. So I started doing it for our staff 2 days a week, 20-minute sessions. They could drop in if they wanted to. And they were always showing up and they loved it. And I was like, I work in tech. These are technicians. And I didn't think they were going to be like, they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't do that airy fairy stuff. But they kept showing up because they really benefited from it. And so David, my husband, the business owner, he networks a lot. So he networks a lot in the industry, knows a lot of people. And he started telling people what I do. And as you know, he'd be talking about tech and IT, and he'd be like, people would be like, and then he goes, well, and my wife teaches desk yoga. And I go, oh, tell me more about that. So I started to help him with his sales process. But so that's how I started. And David started marketing for me basically. And I started getting some clients. And I've gained, it's been fantastic because they came back and they kept coming back for it. And I honestly didn't think that it was going to be something that people would be drawn to. I'm kind of surprised, but I think one of the most important things, like talking about stress and stuff, is you have to schedule in the time to take care of yourself.
You do, yes.
And that's kind of what I push when I push the desk yoga. I said, you've got to put this in your diary as a recurring entry and schedule this time. Because if you don't, you just go, 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 go. And usually when you go, 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 and you're like, I'm so tired, I'm so burnt out, I can't do this anymore. I see desk yoga, I just can't do it, I'm too busy. That's when you need it the most.
Yes, exactly. And how did desk yoga start? Do you know?
I don't know if I don't even know if I'm calling it the right thing. I mean, I just kind of said, we're going to sit at our desks and we're going to do yoga. So I haven't honestly seen if it's an actual thing. But, it is just, you are sitting in the chair and you don't have to have any experience with yoga at all. You can be wearing normal clothes. It's very gentle. It's very accessible, I think. And it's a great way to ease people into yoga. The reason why I started it is because I think we need to focus on this area of the body, because I think we can find ourselves like this a lot. And everything I teach with the desk yoga is how to make this happen, how to pull the shoulders back, strengthen the back so that it eventually becomes natural to hold them down away from the ears, because we're naturally starting to do this.
Yes.
And we don't even realize it. So it's about working the shoulders. I focus a lot on the hands and the wrists, just because we do this a lot. So we need to focus on just stretching the fingers, the hands. We give ourselves little hand massages. We focus on the spine. So I start very gently with stretches, and people book blocks of classes with me. So I start them off very gently, and then I work them into more building strength. So you start with stretch and you kind of work towards, these are poses where you got to use your core muscles to hold you in them. Because when you build the core, your posture improves.
Yeah. So I know we hadn't planned to do any sort of yoga moves, but just a few that would sort of help people who watch this playback.
Sure. I think one of the most important poses to do, especially when you find that you're kind of like this, is, I don't think you can see my body very well, unfortunately, but you take the fingers behind the back and you interlace the fingers behind the back.
Fine. Yeah.
And you draw the knuckles down and away and you squeeze those shoulder blades together.
Yeah.
So right there, and you just look up.
Oh,
so right there, you're stretching across the collarbones and you're opening up that heart space. Mm-hmm. And that is such a lovely counter pose if you find that you're feeling sore from sitting at your desk for so long. So that one, and plus, like I said, take some time to take care of your hands.
Yeah. Just
give them a massage, put them into Anjali Mudra, stretch them, I call them finger push-ups.
That's a good name. Yeah.
Come into Anjali Mudra, tilt the hands down. Yeah. Just pay attention to the hands. And also, I would also advise to flex and extend the spine. So you would have your hands on your knees in front of you. Yep. And you would inhale in, lift the chest, lift the chin, look up. And when you exhale, you round the spine to the back of the chair and you drop your chin to your chest. So this is a very gentle movement with the breath, inhaling as you come up and exhaling as you come back. And that's a really easy, quick thing you can do to help bring movement to the body, as well as connecting the breath to the body and just creating that connection.
And anything for the neck?
Yeah, the neck, good question. It's just really simple. You just drop the chin to the chest. You let the weight of the head do the work for you.
Oh, wow. Rather than just drop it, it's just like,
yeah.
The
You
weight.
can apply pressure to the back of the head to deepen the stretch. You can also do it with the ear over the shoulder on each side, just letting the weight of the head do the work. You can take the hand as well if you want to deepen it. You just apply a little bit of pressure. And then on the other side as well. I do kind of avoid like head circles. I don't really teach that because I think it's just a bit too hard on the neck, to be honest.
Yes.
And I'm always mindful of letting people know that if you want to tilt the head back, don't let the head drop back.
Yeah.
So you're compressing the vertebrae at the base of the neck. You don't want that. You reach the nose towards the ceiling and you stretch these.
Yeah. Because I know when I've done that in the past, you see stars a little bit.
Yeah. And you can feel things pop and it's not very nice.
And so you do a session which is around 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are the benefits of doing a regular yoga practice?
Oh, there's so many benefits. There's physical as well as emotional benefits to a regular practice. Physically, what you're doing is you're building strength and flexibility in your body. You are improving mobility in your joints. It reduces the feeling of tightness and constriction and muscle tension in your body. You're increasing your muscle tone, and your yoga works on the deeper layers of the body. So you're supporting the other systems, mainly the skeletal system. So creating that strong core helps protect us from injury. It improves our posture. Yoga improves our respiratory system because of the pranayama. And when you do the pranayama, so prana means it's the Sanskrit word for energy, life force. So what pranayama means is when you do the breath work, you are unblocking any kind of system blockages energetically you have in your body to let the prana flow freely. So when you practice yoga and pranayama, you get that vitality, you get that energy. I don't think I've ever known anybody who has gone into a yoga class and came out feeling worse.
Yeah.
Only if they didn't listen to the teacher. Only if they pushed themselves too hard. But you feel this incredible energy when you leave yoga, and it's powerful stuff. Emotionally, yoga offers us the opportunity to just be in the moment, really be in the moment and be in our bodies and be in our breath and give ourselves space. And when we give ourselves space, we start to move out of this cycle of doing, yes, and we move into being. And that is something that I think is a really important part of our life that we're missing, because when we have it, we're more mindful, we appreciate things more, we are less reactive. We have that, we become able to kind of tune into how we're reacting to something even before we react. And we can go, hang on a minute, take a breath. Or it just creates this kind of subtle layer of attention, really. And I just think that fundamentally, yoga is kind of the science of the self. It's really how you get to know yourself, because through regular practice, what you will find is that you will be able to go into those moments of stillness easier. And when you're there, you kind of start to unravel the layers that are society puts on you or what you put on yourself, they start to kind of, you go, oh, and ooh, and oh, okay. And things come up. It's quite emotional. And you start to be able to tap into that essence, that true essence, that who you are, your authentic self. I call it your authentic self because it's not an easy place to get to. We are so conditioned. And yoga gives us that opportunity to start pulling the layers back and finding out and confronting our conditioning, going, this isn't working for me anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's magic, and I highly recommend it. It's completely transformed my life, completely.
Wow. I mean, I just love yoga. So if you were going to give 3 tips, what would they be?
Like for tips like in the workplace when to deal with stress?
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest, first, most important tip is to breathe.
Yes.
Absolutely. Find your breath and slow it down. Because like I said, if you find that moment where you're like, you can feel the physiological effects of stress happening and you feel things boiling up and you feel like you're going to react, just take a breath, close your eyes, take a couple breaths. It just does wonders. It kind of shuts down that that goes on in your head, and kind of it helps you see things a little bit more clearly. Secondly, just move your body. I think that we are becoming too sedentary. So, if you find that you have to sit at your desk and work at your desk all the time, schedule in movement. It doesn't have to be long. Put it into your diary. Get up. I don't know if you're working in an office, go to the break room, make yourself a cup of tea, have a chat with somebody. If you're working from home, get up and walk around, do your laundry, just move the body, stretch, do some of the poses that you learned from your desk yoga, but just move the body, because sedentary and stagnation in the body is just really detrimental to our systems overall, and we're becoming more and more sedentary.
Yeah, I mean, I love my standing desk. I just don't sit down during the day, except for if I sit down and eat a meal. But otherwise,
I recommend sitting
office chair here, and I just don't use it. So,
yeah, I highly recommend a sit-stand desk. We've got them in our office as well. All our staff have them as well, and even the standing is great. But the third thing I was going to say, even when you're standing, sitting obviously, but also when you're standing, you've got to check in with your posture. So you have to be mindful that you're not sitting hunched over your desk and keyboard. So as soon as you start to go, oh, I'm doing it again, you just have to pull yourself back up, put the shoulders down, adjust what you need to adjust around you, your keyboard, your screen, the height of your desk, your chair, whatever, so that you have the right comfort for your body. Do not work sitting on a sofa or sitting on your bed. That is one of the worst things you can do for your body. So,
have you got any questions, Kathy, at all you like to ask Jess?
Hello. Firstly, sorry, apologies for my phone going off.
Oh, that's right, don't worry. We'll edit that bit out.
I had it on silence, but my daughter overrides that as an emergency. No, I haven't really. I really like yoga. I've tried to do like an hour's yoga, and trying to fit that into life is just hard. So I've kind of took a step back and trying to do 10-minute yoga in the mornings, which I find is really nice. But is there a big benefit towards doing, is it about quality rather than quantity of time?
Absolutely. I think that, that this idea that you have to do an hour of yoga to get the benefit from it is just another one of those things that is become an influence of the westernization of yoga. And like I said, yoga is not always about the asana as well. Sometimes you might just want to wake up and sit and breathe and meditate, and you're doing yoga. But I totally understand about the scheduling it in and finding the time. It's like I said, we're overscheduled. We're really busy. But yes, quality over quantity is definitely the most important thing. And that's one of the things I get told a lot when people find out what I do and they start talking to me about yoga and their experiences of yoga is I just can't find the time to do it. There's so many things available out there to you now to help you as well. I mean, YouTube is fantastic. You can do, I'm going to promote Yoga with Adrienne because I absolutely love her. And I think she teaches from a really authentic place. She's really genuine. And she has, 10-minute yoga, 15-minute yoga. You go to YouTube, you find what works for you, morning yoga, evening yoga. That's the wonderful thing about it, is that you can create your own practice. Also, your question kind of sparked another point that I wanted to make, just because I think it's really important to demystify yoga a little bit. One of the things that I get told a lot when I would tell people I'm a yoga teacher, that, oh, I can't do yoga. No, I'm not flexible enough. It's like, right, okay. You don't have to be flexible to do yoga. It's kind of one of those things like a runner saying, I'm going to start running. I'm a brand new runner. I'm going to start running. I'm going to run a marathon. It just doesn't work like that. It's you build flexibility. And yes, when you sit down and you see the people either on your screen or in your class, making it look so easy, you have to be able to, you have to switch off from that and put yourself in your body and your experience, because that's the most important thing, is listening to your body and accepting where it's at. It's all about that self-care, that self-compassion. You have to kind of just be like, this is hard. I'm finding this really hard, but that's okay. With regular practice, that flexibility comes. I'm doing things I never thought I could do. I'm no spring chicken. I'm 47 years old. I have a regular practice, and I'm years of doing yoga, but most recently, like the last 2 years of having a really regular practice, 5 to 6 days a week. I can't believe where my body is at. And that's just from being present and not pushing it too hard and just letting it kind of unfold the way it unfolds. And not everybody's going to be able to do every pose in yoga. I think that's a really important point to make. Not everybody's body is made for every pose. And yoga has these wonderful props that help you as well. So, I just wanted to kind of make that point, because that's the one I get told the most. And I think it holds people back. I think it will hold people back because you see these images, especially on social media, these people in these crazy poses. And you look at that and you go, yo, that's yoga. Nah, I don't want anything to do with that.
It's not all about headstands and
they got their foot up by their head and you're like, no, that's not yoga.
But I've forgotten what I was going to say now, actually. Oh, yes, we've got loads of yoga sessions on the Zest Wellbeing Hub, Yoga with Adrienne. We've got some of yours as well, Jess. And Yoga with Cassandra. Have you ever heard of Cassandra?
I have. Yeah,
Yes. So I quite like her stuff. So Jess, if people want to get in touch with you and join your classes, because you're working with business as well as groups. So it's just Jess Ahimsa at gmail.com.
Yeah.
And also people can follow you on Instagram, and that's at Ahimsa Yoga with Jess.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
That's the main way. Unfortunately, I don't have my own website yet because I'm a yogi and I'm not just not good at that stuff. I've been trying for months.
They can still find you though and join your classes. So, and I know Tracy, who works with me, is a great fan of yours as well.
Oh yeah.
And then just to give everyone a heads up on our next ZestCast, which is going to be on the 13th of January. So this is the last one of 2021. We're going to be doing something for something on happiness, because on the 17th of January it's Blue Monday, which is supposed to be the most depressing day of the year, and we're doing something around happiness that whole week. But on the Thursday before, we're with Sarah Kay, who's a laughter yoga teacher, so something a bit different, so still on yoga but something completely different yoga wise. So we're going to have like a week of happiness, but Sarah's going to talk about laughter yoga and how that can help you get through the January blues. But actually, Blue Monday is a myth. It's a marketing ploy to get people to book holidays. So we'll tell you more about that when on the 13th of January. And if you've got any ideas for topics that you'd like us to cover, then please get in touch with us. That's hello@wakeupwithzest.com. So thanks so much, Jess, for doing this session for us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next ZestCast in 2022.